Hello, everyone. I'm Jim Garrison, and I would like to welcome you to this special webinar that Ubiquity University and Sounds True are co-producing to introduce our collaboration around a master's degree for the Inner Mba. Hopefully, we'll be having Tami Simon in a few minutes, the CEO and founder of Sounds True, to talk more about the program. By way of introduction, a number of years ago, Sounds True, in partnership with LinkedIn and Wisdom 2.0 and New York University, developed what they called an Inner Mba. It was an MBA program that focused on the interior qualities that people need to develop mastery in business from an ethical point of view. As we look around the world, we see catastrophic climate change. We see a despoilation of nature that is without precedent. We see exploitation of communities around the world with massive poverty and corruption, most of which has been stimulated by the way we do business on planet Earth. The capitalist system has been a powerful system because it incentivizes personal aggrandizement and capital formation, but it has been developed without any ethical constraints other than the profit to shareholders and the precipitous imminent collapse of our ecosystem has been the result. So over the last 20, 30 years, there's been an impulse in business to green business, to seek to bring the business community into an awareness that profits, of course, are legitimate and necessary for a business to function. But there are other considerations. The consideration of ecological alignment, the capacity and in fact the necessity of businesses to conduct business in alignment with the natural rhythms and laws of nature. If we would simply do that, business would prosper, nature would prosper, and then communities would prosper. We treat human beings no better than we're treating nature. And you see it in the suffering of people all around the world. So there's been this very deep impulse to green business and to make business more sensitive to the needs of the community. And that has led to a variety of organizations, one of which, for example, is a B Corp. So in order to be a B Corp, you've got to demonstrate through a rigorous process that everything that you do is in a sensitive alignment with ecology and a sensitive alignment with how you build community. Ubiquity University is a B Corp, and we take great pride in the fact that we collectively, from the staff level to the board level, we make all of our offerings resonant with ecological and community concerns. A number of years ago, Sounds True began this process with the MBA. The MBA is the most popular and sought after degree program in the world, East and West. And it is the nature of the MBA programs in the major universities of the world that have produced the executives that are now destroying the planet. Because the conventional MBA doesn't talk about ethics, doesn't talk about the ecology, doesn't talk about the importance of nurturing community. It talks about how you increase shareholder value. And so Sounds True developed this program to create an Inner Mba, which was a very innovative advance in the larger field of how you green business by focusing attention. What are the interior qualities that an executive needs, a business person needs, even a consumer needs, to make the kind of business decisions that are ethically based and productive of abundance, externally as well as internally. So they partnered with Wisdom 2.0 and with LinkedIn and NYU, and they began to develop this program. They bring in CEOs, business practitioners, and they spend 9 modules developing an inner awareness of how one can be a master of business administration, but in an ethically sensitive, spiritually aware manner. Sounds True and Wisdom University have had a partnership over the years. I've known Tami Simon for many, many years, and it's been a wonderful relationship. Tami has built Sounds True for several decades as the premier organization and company that provides spiritual learning, bringing master teachers and spiritual leaders from all over the world to produce courses that we've used at Ubiquity University. So we had the idea when Tami contacted me some months ago about why don't we extend the Inner MBA, which is a certificate program that you can take, and link it to a Inner MBA master's degree program at Ubiquity. So this is a innovative partnership between an academic institution and a company, and it allows people that are taking the Inner MBA certificate program through Sounds True to have all those courses roll into Ubiquity. And then you take one course, which is a research methods course, because what you have to produce for Ubiquity is a master's level dissertation. And then you get a master's degree called the Inner MBA. So that's the program that we want to make available to you. We will, Raji will, Jayasinha, who's our partnership director, will put the links to the Sounds True course and the Ubiquity University course in the chat. Those of you who are not on the chat but watching this live through our live streaming partners, we are ubiquityuniversity.org, and you can go to our courses page, and you'll just see the program called the Inner MBA. You can go to soundstrue.com and you can find the link there on Sounds True, so that you can register for the program through Sounds True, or you can register for the program through Ubiquity University. I think there's been a technical problem with Tami, who was supposed to join the program today, but maybe that.
Hi, Jim. I'm just, if I may interrupt, Jim, this is
Sure.
Raji. I've just heard that Tami's running late, but she'll be here in 10 minutes. I don't know if that works for everyone, but if you like, I could take a little bit of that time. Let me put my video on, actually.
Yeah, please do, Raji.
I can take a little bit of time. To run through kind of how the program is structured, so that people have a little bit of understanding on that. Hi, Shannon. Nice to see you there, as always. Shannon's saying hi in the chat. So let me share my screen. If you'll just give me 1 second, and we'll try to get some useful information for you guys until Tami arrives. Just give me 1 second, please. So as I'm looking for this, I will explain to you how this program works. So as Jim explained, Sounds True has an amazing program called Inner MBA that helps you to really look at the inner workings of business. Now, students who take that program with Sounds True will now get to use that program content, transfer those credits to Ubiquity, and I hope you can see my screen now. You can transfer those credits to Ubiquity, and all you need to do then is, if you take Ubiquity's course on writing a dissertation, and then write a dissertation on something related to the Inner MBA content that you've taken, you can earn yourself a master's or doctoral degree for that work. So if you're interested in taking the Inner MBA, I would say that this program structure is an extra incentive, because not only will you get that program content, which is incredibly useful, you can also top that up into actual official master's or doctoral degree. So that's how we've structured the program. There is a financial benefit to it as well. And we do have payment plans available. So if you are someone that's taken the Inner MBA and you're looking to kind of up-level that into a real credential, then this would be a really good program for you. And then when Tami comes on in the next hopefully 5 to 6 minutes, I think that she'll be able to explain to you why the Inner MBA itself is such a wonderful program. So I would encourage everyone to take a look at this webpage, ubiquityuniversity.org/innermba, which I've shared in the chat for you already. And then I would also actually suggest that you look at the other link in the chat, which probably has a little bit more detail about the Inner MBA program itself. And that's the page hosted by Sounds True. I've also put that into the chat over there. So I think that's all I have to say on the program structure at the moment. Jim, perhaps you can speak a little bit, if you'd like, until Tami comes on, about anything you know about the program content, anything you'd like to speak on, Jim. I hope that was useful in some way.
Yeah, thank you, Raji. And thank you all for your patience. Something has been delayed with Tami, and so we'll get her on in a couple of minutes. Let me just broaden the conversation while we're waiting for Tami to comment on the world situation in which we find ourselves, which is one of the reasons why we're so excited about this program with Sounds True to develop the Inner MBA. We're in a world right now where climate change is literally spinning out of control. And so these kinds of courses, like an Inner MBA, which even 4 or 5 years ago were interesting but marginal, are now becoming central and essential for us to contemplate. And that's why we're developing this program. And there she is, Tami. Thank you for joining. We've been in an extended introduction.
Awesome.
Been talking about the Sounds True Ubiquity partnership. We've put your webpage up and gone over it. The Ubiquity webpage go up, and so I just want to welcome you to this webinar. And the introduction has already been given, so I just want to turn the program over to you to say whatever you would like to say about the Inner MBA.
Sure. Thanks, Jim, and thanks, Ubiquity. The Inner MBA is a program that really has sprung from my heart and from the recognition that we need to reinvent the systems that we're participating in from the inside out. And for me, I realized that the system I participate in every day is business. Starting Sounds True when I was 21, almost 4 decades ago, and really realizing that business can be both a crucible for our own development, and it can be the vehicle through which we uplift the world, where we solve collective problems, where we pour out our gifts and our generosity to others. It can really be both, but that we need to have a different orientation for those two focuses to come alive. So the first one, this crucible for our own growth, what would that mean? Well, that means that we see our work as a chance to be more conscious, more present, more generous, more compassionate. And we also start identifying what our lessons are. And for any of us who have been in an intimate relationship, it doesn't take long for our lessons to start to emerge, because our partner is right there pointing them out because they're impacting the person we live with. Well, then at work, this is true on an even bigger scale. We have many, many people who are working with us and who have the thought like, God, if only this person would X, Y, Z, or I love this part of working with this person, but they're missing this other thing. And we're given the opportunity, if we're open to it, to receive so much feedback, important, intelligent, personal growth feedback. And we can actually turn our work into this accelerated engine of personal growth, if that's what we're interested in. As someone who's published material helping people grow now for almost 4 decades, it was illuminating for me to see that the greatest growth opportunity was right in front of me in my work. There's so much irritation, just to say it bluntly, and frustration that comes up. I know for me also, there can be a tendency to blame, to see what's wrong, who's at fault. All of these can become opportunities to see differently, to speak differently, to take a sacred pause at work and reflect. So the Inner MBA is dedicated to 3 trimesters. The first one is really on self-awareness and how we manage ourselves. But very quickly, we move to the second trimester, which is how do we work with other people, the whole interpersonal domain. Are we really willing to share power at work? Are we willing and able to claim our power at work? That's one of the things I've seen throughout the program is many, many people who came into the program and were less self-expressed than when they exited. When they exited the program, they had much more of a sense of, I know what I need to say. I've learned and trained in how to say it skillfully at work, and I'm going to be true to myself. I'm going to be true to that voice inside and stand and deliver. And so this second trimester is all about interpersonal work, creating psychological safety, which is the, kind of the buzzword at companies, because it was discovered that if you want a team to be a high performing team, and before we know it at work, we're part of teams. I mean, one person can get so little done on their own. Before you know it, there's someone helping you. Even if you're an artist, someone's helping you sell your art or edit your writing or, becoming your agent, whatever it might be. We're part of a team. And what allows teams really to have exceptional performance is this quality of trust. Do we feel psychologically safe? Do we trust each other? And what builds trust on a team? And it takes a lot of personal development to be able to be direct and kind and have the kind of brave conversations we need to have with the people we work with so that those relationships are trusting, where we're not going behind someone's back to talk to somebody else who's then talking to somebody else about the problem over here. But we go and we have the skills, not just to talk to the person that we need to talk to, but to listen, to find out what's going on, what might be happening in this scenario that we're unaware of. So that's the second trimester, building exceptional teams. There's a whole section on what does it mean to honor diversity in every form. So of course, that's racial diversity and diversity of gender orientations, but it's also cognitive diversity and learning style diversity. We have a trainer. The program consists of both business trainers, people who come from universities, including Harvard and the Peter F. Drucker School of Management and MIT and the Darden School of Business, plus wisdom teachers like Jack Kornfield and Sharon Salzberg. And then in addition, we have CEOs throughout the program and a community. But in this second trimester, that's really on building exceptional teams, one of our trainers is a gentleman named Lex Cisney, who started an organization called Organizational Physics. And he looks at how there are 4 different types of people that any team needs to have, and how important it is that, first of all, you recognize which type you are, and that you're in your quote unquote genius zone when you're at work. You're really working in the capacity that is your highest capacity. But here's the point I want to make: how much we need to respect and recognize that it takes all of these different types of people on a team in order to be successful. So for example, I'm very much the producer type, and the producer type is like, let's get it done. Let's get it done. We already got it done. Well, come on, what are you guys waiting for? We already got it done. And yet there's a different type, the stabilizer type, that likes to plan and say, hold on. Before we get it done, let's create a project plan. Let's see what we can learn from past things that we did that were similar. How can we create a template for this? And one of the things I learned was how important it was for someone like me to slow down and partner with the stabilizers on the team. And that when you really partner with a stabilizer, then it allows you in the long term to get a lot more done and also have the capacity to innovate. So that's just an example of the recognition of the different kinds of approach to work styles, learning styles that people can bring, and what it means to work where we lift everyone up and honor and recognize and include all of the different styles. And then the third trimester, this is the part of business where we solve social problems, where we pour out our heart, where we transform business so it becomes the type of institution, dare I say, that reflects human values and human needs. And, the Potential Project are contributors, the people who've created the Potential Project, Jacqueline Carter and Rasmus Husgaard. And they've written a book that has to do with compassion at work. And the subtitle is Doing Hard Things in a Human Way. And I thought to myself, doing hard things in a human way. When did it happen that business became something that wasn't human? We're not doing business what are we doing? We're being inhuman. We're being without feeling. We're just working for the almighty dollar at the expense of trotting upon the truly almighty soul. And that's not the way it has to be. And getting an inner MBA gives you the training, the mentorship, the connection to a kindred community so that you can be part of business in a way that's true to you, where you're actually congruent when you're working, when your work becomes a sacred expression of who you are. Now, Jim, there's a lot more I could say about the program. It begins in just a couple of weeks here, but I'm also curious. I don't know if you or any of the other people on the call might have questions about the Inner MBA program that I could answer more directly.
Well, one question, Tami, thank you, first of all, for your illumination. It's very interesting comments on team building. It's a very subtle aspect of the interior work that needs to be done. But if it's not done well, it affects everything else. And that's the importance of getting the interior, the inner dimension correct. One question that we've had from a number of people is, who so far tends to sign up for your Inner MBA? What kinds of people
Sure.
have been going through your program?
Sure. I'll answer that in just a second, because I want to first comment. I think it's very interesting that you picked up on that notion of interior development as an aspect of teamwork. And, one of the things I saw was that even in a lot of spiritual groups that I was a part of, even people who seemed to have great capacity when it came to like sitting on the cushion, let's say, or teaching a class, when it came to teamwork, they actually didn't have the development. They hadn't worked on it. They didn't have the skills to create highly functional teams in which people felt empowered. And so what's interesting is that it's an aspect of interior development, that awareness just in and of itself may not do it. It's learning to bring that awareness into interpersonal dynamics under stress and seeing how you respond under stress and getting feedback about that, and then making the necessary adjustments so that you become a really fun person to be on a team with. Okay, now in terms of who takes the Inner MBA, we've had many managers, many senior leaders at companies, we've had HR directors, we've had lots of people who are in transition. People who are, I thought I was doing this kind of work and I realized it was a dead end for me. I don't want to keep doing that, but I'm not quite sure what's next. We've had a lot of coaches sign up to be in the program, people who are doing this kind of training work with leaders and CEOs at companies. That gives you, I think, a sense, the different kinds of people who have signed up.
And the program.
I'll just add one thing.
Yeah.
Part of the Inner MBA is a partnership with both LinkedIn and Wisdom 2.0, and we'll have upwards of 200 people from LinkedIn who have joined the program, as well as employees from Google and Microsoft. So there's a large representation from the technology space, as well as all kinds of other people. There's a large international audience in the Inner MBA. Upwards of 30% of the people participating in the program are outside of North America. So those are just a couple of other little data points that might be helpful.
And the program, Tami's been going on for how long? How many alumni would you have in the program?
Right. Well, we're moving into our third cohort now, beginning, as I mentioned, in just a couple of weeks. And in both the first cohort and the second cohort, in each cohort, we had just north of 1,000 people in the program. Now, the interesting thing is that can sound like, oh my God, that's so many people. And I'm happy that there are so many people who are interested, because it shows us that this is really a growing movement, which I think it is. It's a swell that we're seeing. But the important thing is that each individual has the opportunity to work within a small learning group of approximately 7 to 8 people. And in that learning group, there's also a facilitator, and that facilitator is someone who has graduated from cohort 1 or cohort 2. And in that group, you have the opportunity to really support and learn from a small group of people who are going through the curriculum with you. And then there's also lots of community interaction opportunities, lunch and learns, various kinds of forums, various kinds of self-organized learning groups that take place as well, affinity
And
groups.
I would imagine too, as you've gone through now the third year, you're learning a lot about how people learn, and as the
Yeah.
world is changing so dynamically, different aspects of the program are being emphasized. As you're preparing for this next cohort, are there any particular themes or concerns that you're going to be particularly emphasizing given world events or just the nature of the program?
Yeah. Well, one thing we saw, it's always interesting to see what happens on its own, is that there was an aggregation of people both from Latin America and in Europe and in Asia, and that people wanted to talk to people who were in their own region. So now we've set it up where there are actual tracks for people from those countries, and we're bringing in CEOs from those countries. As I mentioned, that's one of the ways that the curriculum is delivered, is getting to learn from people who are doing this. There's this idea of like, oh, well, that's like mythic, or there's one person, one lucky person over there. It's just not true. There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people who are leading their organizations very creatively with multiple bottom lines, bringing in this notion of let's be deliberately developmental, which is some of the language from developmental psychology when we talk about learning at work, how they're doing it, how they're building their training organizations, how they're donating a percentage of their profits. So we decided to feature CEOs from these other regions. So that's a new development, and also intentionally create more interactive opportunities for people by region. Also, originally, because we're a learning organization, as you mentioned, and now we're doing the program for the third time. Originally, people were in these small learning groups and there wasn't a facilitator. They were self-facilitated. But now as we enter the third cohort, we have enough graduates, and we saw that it would be beneficial to the program if the groups actually had a facilitator. And so that's also an evolution. And we're also seeing the importance of having a discussion as we move into trimester 3 about how business will play a role in climate activism. And I think that's also something emerging important to many participants in the program. And what are the different opportunities for that? What are some of the creative actions different businesses are taking?
Gotcha. And I guess just a final question is just to hear from you as someone who's spent so much of your life, nearly 40 years, just in Sounds True alone, let alone what you were doing before that, on the importance of the inner work. Because I think that's the essence of this inner MBA, quite literally.
Sure.
And we're in a world where almost everything is viewed from the outside in and very little from the inside out. Just speak to us just for a moment about the importance of an inner MBA.
Sure. Well, I noticed, Jim, I'm touched by the question, so thank you. And I'm a driven person, and I always have been, and I've wanted to accomplish a lot. But one of the things I've discovered, and I think if you really sit down with anyone who has accomplished a lot and you get them in a vulnerable moment, they'll tell you that their outer accomplishments, no matter how great they are, really don't add up to a deep feeling of meaning and contentment and peace, but that the inner work, the ability to rest in our own heart, to rest in our own essential identity, the inner ability to connect from that space to other people also in that space, the capacity to give endlessly and generously from an inner reservoir of love, of loving intelligence. That is deeply satisfying, deeply, deeply satisfying, deeply meaningful and fulfilling. And so to me, the inner work is the Holy Grail. And it's interesting because it impacts everything. It impacts everything because it changes the quality of our voice and our language. It changes our smile. It changes the energy that comes off of our hands when we touch another person and just say thank you for that, or we hold the door open for them. It becomes our presence, and our life becomes presence filled, and our work becomes presence filled. And dare I say, the more inner work we do, the more there's a sense of the living sacred about us and about what we create. And that inspires others in that. And we start creating not just a sacred interaction, but a sacred world together. And so to me, the inner work is the key, and it's the only key that opens up the deepest riches.
Beautifully put. Thank you, Tami. Thank you. The inner work is the Holy Grail. I think that's the bottom line. That's just the
In
bottom
my
line.
experience, and as I said, I'm a driven person, so it's not like I haven't accomplished other things, and I can think of Sounds True was on the Inc. 500 list, whatever. It ends up being like, who cares? I don't care. Not really, no. But if I know that I can breathe into my own body in this moment and find something that is nourishing in the moment and glorious and fulfilling, that's really something. And it permeates everything. It's not just personal. That's the thing. What's personal becomes interpersonal, and it impacts the entire collective, because we recognize how the entire collective is expressing itself through us.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, I think that should do it for today. Thank you so much for coming on. I want to recommend to all of you this program. Raji just put the links in the chat. You can register through the Sounds True link or the Ubiquity link. This program emphasizes the importance of the inner work, and you take the courses through Sounds True. And then if you're interested in getting a degree for the work that you've done, you come to Ubiquity University and complete the process with an Inner MBA degree. So thank you, everyone. One quick date, Tami, when does the course start?
The program begins a week from Saturday.
So this is on the 10th of September.
10th, or no, that doesn't sound right. No, it's the 17th.
17th.
Yeah.
So
it begins on September 17th.
Yeah, so just about a week and a half from today, everyone. So you have time to explore. If you have any questions, be in touch with the appropriate people at Sounds True or Ubiquity. You can email Raji or me, but we heartily recommend this course and this joint program. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
you, Tami.
Jim. Always great to be with you.
Bye for now.